Hey there friends, ready for another example of government overreach and government abuse of power? Yeah, well, I'm not either, but more on that in a second. First, go check out my friends CMMG at cmmg.com. They have a really cool program going on now until December 20th. Anytime you buy something off of their website, using my code FTATF, again, my discount code FTATF, not only will you receive 10% off of that order, you will also receive a mystery box with your order. Now the mystery boxes are really cool. With mine, I had a t-shirt, a cap, I believe those come with all of them, and then you have a plethora of other grab bag things that might be in there. Magazines from a different type of firearm. You may have a foregrip. There's so many things that CMMG has as far as parts and accessories, so there's no telling what you might receive in your, quote, free mystery box. So again, use my code FTATF, receive 10% off your purchase along with a brand new free of charge mystery box until December 20th. A federal grand jury has returned an indictment charging 5 defendants with a conspiracy to illegally acquire machine guns and other regulated firearms. One of the names that you will recognize in here as a defendant is Mr. Larry Allen Vickers of Charlotte, North Carolina. The indictment alleges that beginning in at least June of 2018 through at least March of 2021, the defendants conspired to acquire machine guns and or other restricted firearms such as short-barreled rifles by falsely representing that the firearms would be used for demonstration to law enforcement agencies, including the Coates Police Department and the Ray Police Department. That's also where 2 of the other defendants came from, and those defendants are police chiefs of those departments. The defendants allegedly intended to impermissibly import into the United States and resell machine guns and other firearms for profit or to keep for their own use and enjoyment. Just in a nutshell, and I'm going to really dumb this down, essentially what was happening is if you wanted to import full auto machine guns or imported firearms in many cases from other countries that would have been NFA items or something like that, the only way you could get those imported was if you had some kind of a letter via a law enforcement agency that said these were going to be used for demonstration purposes. Some of those letters were written with no intention of using these as demos. It was just simply a workaround that they were utilizing in order to get these firearms imported into the United States. Now, here's a text transmission between Larry and one of the other folks, Larry Vickers I'm talking about, and it's pretty serious as far as implications involved here. Sullivan says to Vickers, "Would you mind getting your chief to do a demo letter for me for a couple prototypes from Carl?" I assume Carl is somebody who's going to be importing. Vickers says, "I'll certainly try. Let's give it a shot." Vickers then says, "Also, can you email me exactly what you want on your demo letter?" Sullivan responds, "I just did." Vickers says, "Got it. I'm preparing my LE guy right now." That's a law enforcement guy that's going to write the letter stating that they're going to use it for demo purposes. Again, this is a fictitious letter according to this report. Vickers then says, "Chief, my importer, who is a great guy, former Marine and has really done me solid, asked me to ask you if you could do a demo letter for him as a favor to me. I'd like to ask you to do it. Normally I'd never ask for anyone, but he's went above and beyond for me for..." And then it goes on to pretty much talk about how they're doing each other a favor here. It appears that it has nothing to do with demos. It appears that it's scratching each other's back for the, according to the ATF, not me, the illegal importation of firearms that are not going to be utilized through law enforcement agencies. Now, up to this point, I have 2 problems with what's going on right here, and some of this may surprise you. The first problem is none of this should be an issue. We should be able to do this. They should be able to do this. None of this should be any kind of illegality. None of it. This should all be perfectly legal. The NFA is unconstitutional. It needs to be done away with. None of this should be an issue. The ATF should be focusing on real dangers, not this. This is a victimless crime, and nobody was hurt during all of this. I have a real issue with that. I want everybody to know that. I do not support the ATF, the NFA, none of that going on. However, I know that these are laws that are in place, and these guys know that these are laws in place. What these guys have done, and what ticks me off, is they have exploited their positions as police chiefs and somebody like Larry, who obviously has those kinds of contacts, in order to work around the system and get things that I can't get. Call it envy, call it jealousy, call it fairness if you really want to be fair about this. But if we all can't benefit from something like this, then they should not benefit from this. You see what I'm saying? Either we all get a piece of the pie or nobody gets a piece of the pie. I don't think it's right for these guys to use their positions, especially the police chiefs. More than anything, that's what ticks me off. Not necessarily Larry Vickers, so to speak, although he's utilizing his contacts, but the police chiefs. They are certainly exploiting their positions, and they must have pissed somebody off, because the very fact that this is being done and law enforcement is being lumped into this category as being the suspects and the defendants tells me there's something else going on here, because usually those people would get away with this, and they have been in most cases, and very likely across the country. These guys have been doing this and getting away with it. I mean, why else would they do this? Somebody else told them probably they could do this. I don't believe in classism. I don't believe in the whole, and just to give you an example, if a state says, oh, we're not going to give constitutional carry to people who want to carry concealed without a permit, but we're going to give it to law enforcement, ex-military, and all that. Why? That creates classism. You just create a class of people that's going to be treated differently than everybody else. Again, I go back to, if everybody's not going to be treated and receive the same benefit, then none of them should. And we should all fight as a whole to change that. These guys are likely not trying to change anything with the NFA or with the ATF, right? Because they're benefiting from this. All these years that these guys were doing that, I guarantee you their names aren't on any kind of correspondence that's trying to undo the NFA or all these unconstitutional rules out there. Why? Because they're benefiting from it. They don't have a dog in the fight. So they were receiving these benefits all along, and in return, our rights were continuing to get crapped on because they didn't care. I feel like we would have more people in our corner if everybody was treated the same and none of us received that benefit. Then they might care a little bit. You think Larry might care a little bit? You think these police chiefs might care a little bit if the ATF and everybody said, no, you can't have that. I don't care what your reasons are. I don't care if you want to demo that. No, you can't import it. Guess what? Maybe then they might see these really cool firearms that they just imported, 100 and something of them, by the way, and go, wait a minute, this is unconstitutional. I'd like to have those things too. Again, they're not fighting along with us because they're receiving the benefit based on the positions that they have. Now, the thing that pisses me off in this more than anything is the fact that Vickers was hauled in and charged for things that I don't think should even be discussed in all of this. Vickers also pleaded guilty to a conspiracy to violate U.S. sanctions against a foreign firearms manufacturer between July 2014 and March 2021 in the Southern District of Florida. Now, this is all regarding Russia, right? Russia. So, if you remember, sanctions were put against Russia because, big bad Russia, now we don't want Kalashnikov and anybody else to be able to import firearms. Remember how the Kalashnikov essentially, they created I think it's Kalashnikov America or something like that. Well, Vickers helped them do that. According to this letter, beginning no later than July 2014 and continuing until March 2021, Vickers and others conspired, orchestrated, and carried out a plan to violate and evade the U.S. sanctions against Kalashnikov concern by A, acquiring firearms, firearm parts, blueprints, and technical plans from Kalashnikov concern, B, providing promotional, videography, and marketing services to Kalashnikov concern. That's a sanction violation. C, receiving services including engineering and technical design services, videography and video editing services, and preferential access to Kalashnikov concern firearms, facilities, technical processes, personal and associates. And D, receiving funding and reimbursements from and on behalf of Kalashnikov concern. A key goal of this plan was to develop a U.S. business that would manufacture Kalashnikov-style firearms to be sold in the U.S. market and fill the gap left by sanctions against Kalashnikov concern. Well, of course that was the goal. And it's not that Kalashnikov was looking to evade anything. Glock now has a plant here in the United States, in Georgia, not just in Austria. Other companies, FN has a plant down in South Carolina. It's a lot cheaper for these companies to do business within the confines of the United States, as weird as that sounds, rather than these massive import taxes and fees that they're going to be levied against them as they bring things in. While Kalashnikov might have been on the naughty list according to the federal government, they were doing nothing any different than any of these other companies who are relocating a plant in the United States as well. And let me tell you this much. There's a lot of other countries out there who are being sanctioned against. I know for sure China, Ukraine, Iran, Afghanistan, but there's a ton of other countries out there. And I have to wonder, is anybody out there being hit with sanction violations similar to what Vickers is getting hit with for helping another company start up an American-based company? And aren't we always touting how we want American manufacturing? So instead of Kalashnikov being built in Russia, having that plant here in the United States, Americans are benefiting from that. So now, what are they going to do? Are they shutting down Kalashnikov America? Are they going to shut them down? I have to wonder what the next step is for this, because if what Vickers did is not enough of a reason to shut down their American facility, then why is Vickers being charged for this? I just don't see this as being fairness. This seems like a technicality and a political, excuse my French, a political bitch move, because they're mad. And this is just another way to heap additional things on top of Vickers. And let me tell you this is really going to blow your mind. The conspiracy to import all of these firearms into the United States by saying that they were going to be used for demo purposes with law enforcement could get him a maximum of 5 years in prison. He could get a maximum of 20 years in prison for helping Kalashnikov create the American brand here in the United States. How crazy is that? So by allowing a foreign company to come to the United States, create an American company of that same firearm, which benefits Americans who are going to help in the manufacturing process, and of course, benefit from the taxes and all those other things. This company is going to be, this person is going to be sentenced harder for helping somebody build that American company instead of importing illegal, according to the ATF, machine guns, firearms, SBRs, things of that nature. Again, I have to repeat this, guys. This, by all accounts, is a victimless crime. This is all bullcrap. The only real problem I have with these guys doing this is the fact that they knew it was against the law and they exploited their positions to do things illegally that you and I can't benefit from equally. But in a nutshell, overall, this is a crock of bull. And I hope Vickers fights this, and I hope all these guys take this as an opportunity to, guess what? Now they can be on our side. Now you benefited from all this crap before. Now maybe you realize the crap and the battles that we've been fighting all along. Now maybe you get your attorneys to fight against the NFA when they bring your asses to court.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's so horrible.